This is 6.8 notes, the back side. I'm going to start with 5, 6, and 7 because I feel like these are somewhat the easier ones. So I'm going to start with 6. It says the VA is x equals -2. So what we have to remember is that this is the C value. And then the HA is y equals 4. We have to remember that's the D value of our equation. So now we're writing equations. If it doesn't give you any other information, of course, we're going to start off with this parent function, and then we're going to fill in the C value. So since that's a -2, it's going to change to +2, and then we're going to fill in the D value out here. And so that would be our equation for when we're given the VA and the HA. Okay, 7 is very similar to number 6. This is just another way of giving us the HA and VA. So the domain, the HA is x equals 0. Okay, so that's our constraint. So again, that's our C value. And then right here, the range, y equals our constraint is 3, and that's our D value. And so again, if I'm trying to write the equation, I start off with my parent function, and then I adjust from there. Since the C value is 0, I don't need to write anything down here, and the D value is 3, so I'll go ahead and put my +3 here. Okay. Number 5 can be a little confusing, so I'm going to kind of draw a little graph right up here. So what this is talking about when it talks about end behavior, if you notice, it says end behavior left and right approaches 2 right here. And so what that's talking about is like the end behavior left. So that would be this part of the graph, what's happening to the left, and then right here, what's happening to the right. Okay, so I'm going to kind of makeshift that right here. So it says the end behavior left approaches 2. And so what this will look like normally is we have a curve right here, and as this approaches -infinity right here, it's going to level off at the value of 2. Okay, and then the same thing for the right. So the right side of this would look something like this, and as that approaches infinity, okay, where does it level off? And that is also at 2. Okay, so the 2 is actually the HA. So this is the HA, which in turn is also the D value. So really all that it's given us is the D value. So then again, when I write my equation, I start with my parent function. Since it gives me my D value, I'm just going to add it out here. So my final equation is y equals 1 over x plus 2. All right, so now if we're given a graph now, okay, like number 1, we know that the parent function of a graph, I'll draw it right here, looks like this. Okay, so when we're writing our equation, I'm obviously going to start with my parent function, and then I'm going to fill in what's needed. Okay, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what my VA and HA are. So right here, my VA intersects the x-axis at -4. So this is the C value. Okay, and then my VA intersects the y-axis. It looks at +1. So y is equal to +1. So that's the D value, and all I do is I plug that into these equations. So I have a +4 here and a +1 there. If I were to plug this into my calculator, I would check to see if this is what it looks like. Okay. This does not match up to this yet, because if you notice, this was the parent function, and this graph are in different quadrants almost right here. Okay, so what needs to happen is this needs to be reflected, and so to reflect this, we simply just throw a negative out in front of our A value. Okay, and so that's what you do. You just start guessing and checking and changing the A value once you have the C and the D. Number 3, okay, I have, again, looking at my VA and HA, I'll go ahead and write those in. So x equals 0, y equals 0 for this one. so we're not going to have to write anything in there. We notice that it's symmetric right here. Okay, so that means that it's the parent function that has the x squared on the bottom. All right, and then the other thing is we know it's flipped. So normally it comes up here, the parent function, and now it's flipped, so that was a reflection over the x. And then we would guess and check, right? We plug this into our calculator, okay? Just to kind of show you what happens is if I plug this into my calculator, I actually get a point at -1, 1 and 1, 1, okay? And what we need to do is match up a point to -1, -4. And so what we need to change this to, okay, is the a value. So if I want this to go from 1 to 4, then basically I change that to a 4, and now this equation should match up with this graph. And it should go, if you check in your table, it should go through -1, -4. Okay, and then don't worry about the tables. I'll go over the tables whenever I get back. The one thing I do want you guys to understand is where it's error or or undefined, that's going to be my VA. That's going to be my C value. Okay, so just make a little note about that, and then I'll show you how I do the tables when we get back, just the guess and check method that I use.